Hi, I'm John from Just Whiskey. Please click like and subscribe and consider becoming a Patreon with the link in the description below. And remember, no matter how good it is or how much it costs, it's just whiskey, folks. Today is going to be a review and a revisiting of the Glendronach 18-year-old Allardyce, the 2019 release, which was bottled in November 28th of 2019. And we're going to compare that to the Glendronach 18-year-old Allardyce 2020 release. And this was bottled in June 4th of 2020. Check out my earlier review, which was 2 or 3 months ago, where I did review these. Now they've had a little bit of time to open up, and because I set them aside, and now we're going to revisit them. So they're both non-chill filtered and no color, and they're both 46 ABV. We do know, not officially, but through the wordsofwhiskey.com website and other online venues, there's the famous Glendronach age chart, and it is widely regarded as truthful that it's quite possibly these 18-year-olds have 24-year-old juice in them. And sometime during and or after 2020, it goes back to 18-year-old. Somebody commented in the previous earlier Glendronach review that they had information which led them to believe that some of the earlier bottlings of the 2020 release could also have 24-year-old juice. It's commonly known or accepted that the 2019 release has 24-year-old. But if you look at the graph, it shows the graph chart that in 2020, it goes back to 18-year-old. But one of the commenters did say that he believes that some of the earlier bottlings quite possibly could be the same juice. And that wouldn't surprise me because the color on both of these are identical as far as I could tell. By my eye, I cannot tell the difference. And the nose and taste on them are very similar. Very similar. A little background quickly. We do know that Glendronach was run by Billy Walker, and he has since gone on to pursue his ambitions with Glenallachie. So Glendronach has been bought out by Brown-Forman. And I've heard through fellow whiskey tubers and commenters on whiskey tube channels that they've heard that Glendronach moving forward is going to start chill filtering their products. I don't know about coloring, but maybe they're going to add color too. I don't know. So that's, if there's any truth to that, that's disparaging news. Okay. So I think we've covered all that. So what I did, probably about a half hour ago, I poured a sample of each one of these without water and with just a drop or two of water. And they've been sitting out for about a half hour. So we're going to start with the 2019 release, which was bottled in November of 2019. Beautiful nose. Gorgeous nose, really. You get fruit, a little bit of pencil shavings, a little bit of vanilla. Just a really inviting nose. Beautiful mouthfeel. You pick up a little bit of the cocoa, a little bit of cherry. Some people describe it as chocolate-covered cherries, or maybe the chocolate-covered cherry liqueur. There's a hint of that in there, hint of caramel, and maybe a little brown sugar, maybe even a hint of maple, with a nice, viscous, long, pleasant, slightly sweet finish. That was without water. Now the 2019 with a drop of water. The nose is about the same. Maybe it's about the same. We're splitting hairs, I think, on the nose. And on the palate, it does open up a little bit, but I can tell that it's been watered down, even though there's only a drop or two in there. It's kind of mellowed out. It's still very nice. And I would say even with the water, a little more dryness to it. Very slight astringency, but still really nice. Really nice. Okay. Now to the 2020. June 4th, bottling of 2020. The nose is about the same. Maybe slightly less pronounced, but that could be my imagination. Honestly, I'm really hard pressed to tell the difference. Obviously, the same family, very similar. Very similar. I'll try the one with the water. Now, for me, with the water, the nose is a little more pronounced on the 2020 than without water. Whereas the 2019, I didn't notice a huge difference with the water or without water. On the 2020, with the water, I do get more of a nose. But the nose is same description, the same thing. Fruity, hint of pencil shavings, a little vanilla. On the palate, again, we're splitting hairs here, on the palate with the water on the 2020 seems to be a little better than without the water. And I'm not a big water person. I usually bypass it. Usually the only time I add water is when it's a really ballsy, high strength, cask strength whiskey where it's just asphyxiating. Then I will add a little bit of water to tame it down. But generally speaking, if it's a non-cask strength, I usually don't even bother with the water. But out of all 4 samples, I think I'd have to say that the 2020 with a little water on the nose and palate seems to pop just a little bit more than the other 3 samples. It's going to go one more time. I think out of the 4 samples, the 2020 with a drop of water is best of show. But we are splitting hairs here. I would rate these both equally, with a maybe 1/10 of 1% higher to the 2020 June 4th bottling. As far as a rating, these are really nice, really beautiful whiskeys. I'm going to say they're going to, for my liking, they're going to fall into the 88 to 91 range. That's one hell of a range, I know. Probably maybe even 89 to 91. So it's a 90 all day long. It's a 90 all day long. But I like to give ranges because on any given day, depending on your palate, you enjoy a spirit sometimes a little bit less or sometimes a lot more. So we're going to stay with that range. We'll say between 88 and 91, but I feel confident these would rate at a 90. But I like to give the range between 89 and 91. So, I just wanted to talk quickly again about the Glenallachie. This is, and I'm glad I remembered, Billy Walker's, getting rave reviews about Glenallachie. And the 10-year-old cask strength, we're up to batch 5 now. And batch 4 just won the World Whisky Award as in the category of a sherried cask strength whiskey. It won best whiskey of the world. So you cannot argue with that. I did pour, this is batch 3. I do not have batch 4 or batch 5. But this is Glenallachie 10-year-old cask strength at 58.2%, batch 3. And I have made reference, enjoyment-wise. I put Glenallachie up against Glendronach. They are two different beasts. The 10-year-old, you can taste the youthfulness in it. You can smell the acetone. On the Glendronachs, I'm not picking up any acetone or any alcohol burn whatsoever. But on the 10-year-old cask strength, you'd expect that. I have not tried any of the Glenallachies, any other Glenallachies besides this cask strength batch 3. I do have the 12-year-old. I have not opened that up yet. But Glenallachie, it would be interesting to see how their 18-year-old stands up to this. Price-wise, I bought these Glendronachs 6 to 12 months ago, and they were about $160 each US. So $160, $165. I mean, now they're going for $200. So I don't get that. But a point I made earlier with the Glenallachie 10-year-old, you can buy the 10-year-old cask strength or the 12-year-old. You can buy 3 or 4 of them for the price you're going to pay for a Glendronach Allardyce 18-year-old. We'll leave it at that. If you like today's show, please click like and subscribe, and consider becoming a Patreon with the link in the description below. And remember, no matter how good it is or how much it costs, it's just whiskey, folks. So hats off to you all, and take care.